All right, we're back at it again, folks. We're looking at a mess here, but over the next week or so, all of this is going to get cleaned up and start coming together. I've been working on some pre-drywall tasks, so I'm just going to run through a few of those just so we can talk about kind of what's changing here. The first is you can see the return. This is the HVAC return here. It goes down outside the house. This is not the permanent one. The return side of an HVAC system is actually under a fair bit of vacuum. I mean, it's not the same as like a vacuum pump, but it's essentially doing that same thing. And so there can be a bit of pressure on these walls, and I will be putting galvanized steel down in there the standard way ductwork is formed. But this is really just insulation here. So I needed a liner anyway. I figured I might as well box it in. This way everything's clean, everything's cut. It was all set up the way I wanted to, and foam board is really, really easy to work with. So I've got a nice mock-up here, and now I can drywall over this and then slide in whatever ductwork that I actually want to do as my final thing, and it'll already be insulated. So I can kind of actually stitch together the pieces and get something, kind of a vertical sleeve coming up here, and then a little bit of a horizontal collar that kind of comes out through the wall and up to a vent. I do really want this to be sealed fairly well. We do get fairly cold temperatures here, and although we'll be skirting and we will have a more or less, not conditioned, but not really exposed crawl space. At the same time, it will be cooler down there. And since the furnace is down in that space, we really want to retain whatever heat we've got. So that'll be one of the returns. Don't forget, there is actually going to be a second return from up here. I am going to put a set of inline duct fans somewhere in this area here. I have to figure out where I want to do the power takeoff for it. But the idea here is that, I've got an extra signal wire run over, and when the HVAC system is running, if the system detects that the upstairs air temperature is significantly warmer than the rest of the house, it can kick on the return fan, bring that air down, and cycle that into the furnace so that it can kind of mix with the rest of the house, and then it'll be put out on the ground floor and kind of equalize the temperature so we don't get kind of a hot dome or hot balloon effect up in the second level. Now, during hot days when we're cooling, we can do almost the same thing. We can bring hot air down from the upstairs, but we can also blow air upstairs. So I do have another duct. You can see there's actually a pair of ducts there, two 6-inch ducts. They're flex ducts. They're not great. They are not the most efficient things in the world, but it was all I could fit. And it was better than nothing. A lot of houses don't have anything. So I think even though it's not exactly the most efficient thing in the world, it'll be okay. And I'm going to do a Y off that, kind of tee down into the bedrooms. Let's look at the stairway a little bit here. You can see that the stairs look a little different from past videos. I've replaced the construction treads, which were just, I think, 2x10s. I had just kind of screwed down there temporarily with some more permanent subfloor. This is screwed down with subfloor screws. I haven't had any squeaking problems yet. I could come back in and use adhesive, but I didn't bother with it. I think that we're going to be doing carpet on the stairs and upstairs for right now, just because the cost of hardwood is sort of out of our budget for this phase. But eventually that'll get stripped back off, and we'll put hardwood treads on here to match the flooring for the rest of the house, I think. I'm not really sure yet. We have to decide that. For now, we're going to plan on carpet, so it doesn't really matter what these look like. If there's a couple of cracks and crevices, that's okay. One crack that is deliberate, you can just barely make it out on the right side here, is there's about a 5/8 gap to the wall on every tread, and that is not an accident. Drywall is going to get slid down there. So rather than having to cope the drywall against every stair tread all the way up, which is just a ton of work, this way I can just slip the sheet of drywall right next to the steps. The stairs will come up flush, and all I have to cope in is the trim. So we should be in pretty good shape here. This stair is not completely to code. We're not required to comply with code in that the stairway should be 36 inches wide. It's only 33. I've got enough of a hallway here that I could steal a few inches and just move this wall out if we ever cared in the future. For right now, I don't care. And I'm really just trying to get past the CO here. But what I did want to do is do the landing turn. So originally, you may remember the stairs went straight up, which was fine, but we didn't have enough headroom up here. And to meet code, you do need 80 inches of clearance above the main travel path for the stair. And we were just not going to be able to do that with the slant of the ceiling here. So I went ahead and angled them. This gives us plenty of clearance going up. and a nice little landing. Makes for a safer, more comfortable stair to have a landing there, a couple of steps down and you turn. This way, you know, you're not worried about falling as far if you're feeling a little unsteady on your feet. Of course, there will be a handrail. But this would have been the harder thing to do. So this is more structural. It's not just moving a wall a couple of inches. I can move this wall out 3 inches. It's a 2x4, so it's 3.5 inches wide already. All I would be doing is just kind of sistering it here and then cutting this out and kind of extending the stair treads over. So that is something that I can retrofit if we ever care. For right now, it's not a big deal. So let's go up here and just take a look at one other change I'm making as a result. Yes, there will be a couple of cripples installed here, just as drywall backing. So you come up, and this is actually kind of a nice entrance to the loft now. So you feel like you got plenty of room, and it's a good kind of use of the space. And then if we turn around, you can see I finished framing these walls, just about. I've got one little detail here. But what we'll have now is a pair of bedrooms that both have closets. So this is going to get pulled out just a little bit more with a little bit of an angle over here. You'll have a full-size closet, but I am going to put an outlet in this closet. And the idea behind that is that if you ever wanted, like, let's say, to do like a workstation, you want to list the property as having full bedrooms with bathrooms in them, or excuse me, with closets in them, which is not required by code, but the realtors love. Then in that case, to get a good appraisal, you know, this can be called a closet. But when we're not using it as somebody actually living here, if I have an outlet in here, this could be like a nice area for a computer workstation. You know, just a little desk spot, just kind of an out-of-the-way area, freeing the rest of the bedroom here for being, you know, a bed and a bureau, maybe an armoire, something along those lines, maybe some built-ins along these back walls. There's lots of room in here, so now this room is much, much larger than it was. And I've done the same thing over here with this bedroom. This door is going to open this way, and you're going to be able to walk in, and the same thing. So you'll have a framed-out section, which is technically going to be called a closet right now, but in the future it could be, you know, desk work area, something along those lines. It's about 2.5 meters, just under 3 feet wide. I think it's like 30 inches wide. So it's enough that you can get a nice chair here, put some built-ins, maybe some shelves above or a TV, and then, you know, a desk area with a chair. And then that leaves the rest of the room here free, so the bed can be either under the window or against this wall going this direction. Plenty of room for a bureau along the back, especially if you do a full instead of a queen. So that's what we're planning here. As a result of these changes, I'm having to add a couple of outlets. So you can see I've added 2 here to comply with that 612 rule. There's one there. That's plenty of room. There's going to be one in the closet. This wall doesn't count. Plus, there will be one in the closet. And I'll be adding one down here in the hallway, or maybe just moving this one over to this wall here to comply with the rule. And then this hallway ends up just kind of dead-ending into the area that will be for storage. What's nice about this is that, you know, you've got enough room where you can either do some built-ins here, maybe do some seating, have kind of a nice little reading nook, maybe a little day bed, something along those lines, or do some built-in bookshelves, storage for board games, just stuff that's kind of out of the way and keeps things organized so that the rest of the loft doesn't get cluttered. And that way, all of the stuff is kind of out of here and, you know, makes for a nice storage area. So this is what's coming together. You can see I'm now just about ready for drywall in here. The only other thing that I've done is I've moved this light switch. So the 3-way was originally on the wall back here, which would not have been accessible coming up the stairs. So now I've moved it down into here, and you can see that we've already got the loft lights installed, so that makes this quite a bright area. And I've got 4 lights up here in the loft, and I will have, I think, two in each bedroom. So I've still got to get those set up, but it's just about ready. So anyway, thanks for watching. I got some last-minute changes here, and I think the only other decision that I have to make here is for this little nook. Originally, a while ago, I was planning on making this sort of like open access so that you could get in here and deal with plants or, you know, holiday decorations, stuff like that from above. But you'd be crawling along a ledge, not super safe. And also, I need an area where the ducts can come down. Now, I had electrical in here, and that's actually getting ripped out. So I'm not worried about conflicting with that. But I have to make a choice on the ducts. And I think what I'm going to do here, we're not going to make this access. Instead, we're going to provide access from the storage unit or the storage area behind this ledge. So I'll have maybe some removable panels or a couple of access doors, something along those lines, maybe every other stud. So you can kind of creep in along here, open a door, maybe water a plant without having to go up on a ladder from below. Or if you're doing holiday decorations, being able to set those up. So that is part of the plan. The only problem is that I kind of looked at this area here now and said, well, I've got kind of this dummy space. If you look, there's a bit of like area here where it kind of doesn't make sense as part of this upper ledge. So I could do some type of storage or built-ins. Now, if I did that, I'd have to move my ducts here. So instead of coming down side by side, they came down front and back. So one of them would just get tucked this way, or maybe get pushed back this direction here a little bit so that they came down, instead of coming down in a hole here, they came down in a hole here. Now, the challenge with that is that right below us, you can't see it because of drywall now, but that is the laundry room, the back corner. And basically anything that we do here will steal space from the back corner of the laundry room. So it's sort of a trade-off. I think at this point, I'm probably just going to run them straight down. You know, at this point, we're really polishing the cannonball. There's only so many tweaks you can make at the end stage of a project like this. So we're really just trying to finish off and not have this be any more complicated than it has to be. So that's where we are. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for watching. We're going to get back to it. And I think we've got just about all of the pre-drywall stuff done for the loft. So next step, we're going to be hanging some drywall up here. You can see I've already got a sheet or two, but I need to get a lot more. And going to be hauling a lot of heavy stuff upstairs. Stick with us and stay tuned and see you next time.